I did say when we featured brake pads and brake shoes in the shop that we'd have a little trip out, and we're in deepest Derbyshire here at the home of brake pads, Ferodo. These guys know everything there is to know about brake pads, discs and brake shoes, and we're going to go sort of behind the scenes, fly on the wall job and see the day in the life of manufacturing a brake pad. Step this way. So here we go. Now this fella, who they call Fingers, and you can see why, isn't collecting his cream crackers together to make his picnic up for the next week. He is actually collecting together the backing plates, the metal backing plates which are produced elsewhere, to then go over to the place of which they stick the compound on, the actual braking compound. And here we go. Now he's not weighing up a little bit of coffee and making me a brew. This is the actual compound which is accurately weighed and stuffed in this machine, of which in a second, when he places the backing plate on, will go into a huge press which has got some phenomenal tonnage, and it'll stamp that compound, that powder, down in to form a brake pad. Now there's a couple of them doing this at any given time because the machine can cater for two. And here we go. He'll open the door. Let's have a little look. See? There we go. A brake pad. But he doesn't stop at that. That isn't the finished article. What we've got to do now is take it over to the oven. And here's a whole load of it here. Look at that. He's just gone over the yellow line there. The police would have him for that. So he's taking it over to the oven now, of which it'll spend a few hours in. It's a hell of a weight, as you can imagine. There's an awful lot of brake pads on that crate, so he's using his crane. The headphones he's got on, it's not Oasis and a new hit single he's listening to. That's simply there because, as you can imagine, the factory is decidedly noisy. So there we go, the oven's burning away. Mind your fingers, son, now. Dangerous, you know. There's a lot to it. It's not as simple as it meets the eye here. They obviously take care to work out which brake pads go where, and thickness. And here we go, matey boy, thumbs up job, right thickness, boss, yeah. And he's just got to stick these pads on this grinder, and it takes the top off, and they will then end up at the desired thickness, maybe 9mm, 10mm, whatever, for that particular pad for your bike. This is a car pad making machine. They do it rather more automated than the bikes, but then again they need a few more. These are the finished oven baked and ground down brake pad, and now they need a little prettifying. So he's going to spray them, as you can see, using the fancy method of ionised and electronically gelled brake dust that goes onto here and then get thrown into the oven. They go in and out of ovens like hot cross buns, of course, you know, but come out with brake pads. All this is at the moment at a particularly slow rate. I mean, when these guys get going, when demand requires it, they have to do some serious fast work, and those ovens will be stacked high with the very many brake pads. There we go, nice and shiny black brake pad. This is a bit of a clever machine. It's impressive, this. It's printing the word Ferodo on it. It's not actually stamping it, it sprays it. Look, here we go, and it actually sprays that. There is no contact with the pad at all. I was very impressed with that. And there we are, the brake pad. This is now going to go on the packaging. This is the pretty side that then would come to my shop, of which I would then sell it to you. There's a whole stack of them on one board. It's blister packed, it's sort of heat shrink wrapped. So he'll have to be careful, watch his fingers. I was very keen on pressing that bright red knob just to upset the operation. Here we go, here's the blistering process. And then having done that, the very same fella does all these jobs. He's the finishing man. He'll stick it now on the cutting machine. There it goes through. Of course, they don't use a pair of scissors, you know. They don't want to cut the fingers. They use this special cutting machine, which will stamp out the packaging. Having done that, he then has to stick the many same pads and the same packaging into a box so it can go to the distribution base, ready to be sent throughout Europe or wherever it's going throughout the world. I had a go at this, as you can see. The master himself. Look at this. Eh? I had no idea what the heck I was doing, but if I had the coat on and the glasses, I had to have a go. I knew that, honestly. I was just seeing if this guy knew himself what he had to do. Obviously, I had several hundred attempts at this, and we end up just about with the right product. Needless to say, they threw that in the bin afterwards. They wouldn't use that to send any brake pads anyway. Now, as always, Paul has to get in on the act, doesn't he? So there he is, shoveling me around the workshop. We had a bit of a laugh actually at Ferodo. Bye bye, boys and girls. Bye bye. I had to have another go at this. And I failed miserably. So we've moved into the training room now, and I've met Paul Walker here, who's the European sales manager, big commander-in-chief, you know, who makes a mighty fine cup of tea, I might add, of which we had earlier. So then, Paul, Ferodo, been going some years. Have you been with them from day one?
No, 97 years less, actually.
Yeah. So they've been going as long as that?
100 years this year, yeah.
Really? Flipping heck. Big celebration in order?
Yes, we've quite a few things planned, actually, inside the factory and outside the factory. Yeah, it's quite an important event for us.
New products to go with the flow, like?
No, new products come along all the time, so we can't, can't wait for every centenary.
No, but the stuff that you've got anyway is good enough, isn't it? Because, I mean, the truth being is they are actually, like, number one. They're all over the world, Ferodo brake pads. Yeah. And shoes and such, well, yeah. Discs now, you're into discs?
Discs, we've recently introduced a range of discs, yeah, which is growing all the time.
And I know from sort of what little information I've received that you are well into research and you do back a lot of race bikes and teams up with your products. Tell us a little bit on that side.
We spend a great deal of money every year on research, both here on this site, and we have a specialist research company based down in the Midlands. And a lot of that, a big part of that programme goes into improving and developing pads and discs indeed for racing motorcycles. I think it's safe to say we're one of the biggest sponsors in the brake world in motorcycle racing.
So go on then, Paul, give us a clue. What we got to look forward to for the future? I mean, you know, obviously development all the time. I know that your research is big. So what exciting materials and things can we get for the future?
Well, several companies have got several different philosophies in how the future of disc, pad and material is going to go. This is the one that we personally feel is the strongest contender for the future of braking. This is a ceramic matrix composite, a high temperature, high durability matrix. Glass inside and a resin which is very, very strong.
Light, is it light?
It's extremely lightweight.
It is, yes. You're right, yeah.
This actually will run from 0 degrees up to 1,000 degrees without any ill effects whatsoever. Its main rival, carbon fibre or carbon reinforced fibre, has several drawbacks in as much it has a very narrow performance band. This doesn't suffer from that.
The carbon ones, they're the ones that we see GP bikes and things using.
This is what you see on Grand Prix motorcycles and cars, yeah.
Why go down this avenue then? Is it a cost-related thing?
Carbon is very, very expensive, yeah. And the governing bodies of both motorcycle and automotive racing are very unhappy at the costs involved in running that sort of material. So we see this as a more cost-effective, more economical replacement, which is actually far more powerful as well.
I think the biker is keen on the cost. It's a big sort of hit on it. Keep the cost down.
Very, very important.
How long do you think it will be? I won't hold you to it, like, you know, we won't come knocking on your door in so many years' time, but how long do you think it will be before we see this format, this type of material on our street bikes? We have to fully develop this in racing, which is going to take us certainly the rest of this year and maybe part of next. But I see within the next 3 or 4 years, this will be on road-going motorcycles. Well, there's no doubt about it. Ferodo have got the finger on the pulse. As you've spoke of, this new fancy ceramic resin-type disc and pad, can we sort of see behind the scenes in the future? Can we get a day trip out somewhere and see this thing in action?
Do you mean seeing it used?
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly, if you'd like to come along. Very spectacular it is too.
So you've seen the manufacturing plant, right from the old conception to the birth, and that is the old pad starting with its compound, put onto the backing piece, painted and sprayed, and then blister packed. And now they're boxed up. And then from here, which is the distribution base from Ferodo, they go all over Europe. And they're racked, stacks, thousands of them, hundreds, millions of them, for different makes of bikes. Paul, what are you doing here?
I'm after some. He told me, he said on here somewhere, CBR 600.
They're all in order, these, computer logged and everything. You can't be nicking pads or anything like that.
There's millions, they make pads for everything.
Forget it, what's he like at all?